my goodness, guys, this is a really fun video. Okay. You guys, this is such a fun video for me to do because it is for sure the first time that I have ever done a recap video on Dancing with the Stars. Last night was seriously so much freaking fun. I can't even emphasize enough to you all how weird and surreal but also super awesome it was to sit down on my couch at my house and watch the show that I have been a part of for 8 years now. This is my first season not doing the show, and leading up to this night, I didn't know how I was gonna feel. Genuinely, I have been, because my pregnancy wasn't a surprise to me. I definitely wanted to be pregnant, which I knew meant I would have to step away from the show for a season, so I've been very comfortable and like happy with that choice, and I haven't felt regret in any way. But I was like, I wonder how I'm gonna feel. Like, is it gonna be sad? Is it gonna be weird? Am I gonna love it? Am I gonna hate it? I can say on the record that I seriously loved it. It was so fun sitting here on my couch with Sam, watching this incredible show that has been a part of my life for so long now, still is a part of my life, and then just watching my awesome friends who I literally consider family kill it with their partners, and it was a really good season. So I'm so excited. I'm gonna be doing recap videos of the entire season. I'm gonna try to get some friends on here to do a little FaceTime, but this one's a little last minute. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of just decided to do this like maybe 10 minutes ago, but I figured why not? I feel like it'd be fun to just recap what's going on and talk to you guys about what I think about the show. So to start, a lot of people, including me, were extremely anxious and kind of nervous to see how all the changes are because a lot was different last night. So first things first, the ballroom looks completely different and it looks incredible. Like, I mean, they just did such an amazing job. I can't even wrap my brain around how much work that was, but it was so beautiful. It looked so good. The screens, the lighting, it didn't feel like we were missing the audience because we really did have this huge grand ballroom that was kind of just making up for it. But I will say it was a little bit different without the audience because, I mean, as a dancer, knowing that going out there and dancing without seeing the response from the audience, hearing the cheers, seeing the facial expressions that they're making, that definitely does add to your performance, like 100%. When you're dancing and you do something cool and the audience gives you a little bit extra cheering, you like get that like, oh yes, you get amped up and you're psyched, and I feel like it just propels you forward. That being said, not everybody responds that way, so it is kind of an interesting thing. There's a couple partners of mine that I know probably would have done better if there wasn't an audience because it would have taken the pressure off. Because a lot of my partners would kill it in dress rehearsal when there was no audience there, and then once the audience was in and the pressure was on a little bit more, they'd kind of fall apart. You know who you are, partners, but I mean, it's fine and it's natural that that happens. The nerves can set in, but then there were some partners who did great in the dress rehearsal, and then when the audience was there and that extra added energy was in there, it's like they took it to a completely new level. Like, blew my mind. One of my favorites and most shocking partners who did that was David Ross, because he had no dance experience. I was very, very, very nervous about how he would respond to the audience. and I was worried that it would kind of mess him up, throw him off, but literally he brought it even more. Like, he always turned it on even more when the audience was there. So it's interesting to see, like, some celebrities probably love not having that added pressure, some might need it. So we'll see how that goes as the season progresses. Okay, so we have the new stage, we have the no audience, we have our new host, Tyra. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit nervous about this change. I love Tom and Erin so much. I mean, I've watched the show since season 1. So before I even came on the show, I was watching it, I was a fan, and Tom has been there since day 1. So imagining a show without him, I just could not wrap my brain around it. And I will say, of course, he and Erin were missed. Like, you could just, it was different, and I miss them so much. So I have to say that. But then I also have to say that I was extremely surprised at how much I enjoyed Tyra's energy. I feel like she brought more than I thought. And I guess I was mostly worried about how that change would affect kind of just the dynamic of everything, with the judges to the dancers. And I thought Tyra did actually an incredible job for her first show. I mean, Dancing with the Stars is not an easy show to host. Literally anything can happen, and everything does happen. It's live. There's no, I mean, there's a script, but as far as what the dancers say, what the celebrities say, what the judges say, that's all up in the air. So you have to be quick. You have to respond promptly and like sound eloquent, and that's a tough thing to do. So I gotta say, kudos to Tyra for stepping into a huge role, because Tom and Erin really did, they just brought so much to the show. So she had big shoes to fill, and I thought she did a pretty dang good job. And I think as the season progresses, she'll get better and it'll just sort of start to click. So that's my 2 cents on that. And then the last, I mean, not the last change, but we had new judges, kind of. So Len is gone. I actually was really sad. I mean, I think as a pro, Len is always the one that just like gets on you. So I'm sure some of the pros were like, okay, whew, we won't be getting as many like hard critiques on our choreography, or if we have enough content, because that's always something that as a professional you're just like, oh crap. But I did miss his energy. He's just such a sweet, literally the sweetest old man you'll ever meet, and it was definitely different without him. But then we have Derek Huff, who has been on the show before. He has been a judge now for a couple years on World of Dance, and I always love to have a past professional's opinion on the judges panel. Like when we had Julianne, when we had Max do a guest judge appearance, it's nice as a professional to get critiques about whether it's choreography, about your partner's dancing, about their performance, to get those critiques from somebody who's actually been in your position. Sometimes, I don't want to diss the other judges in any way, but sometimes when they say something or when they comment on things about whether it's teaching style or choreography style, it's a little bit tough because you're like, well, you do it then. I remember there's so many times where I've gotten comments and I'm like, well, why don't you give it a shot then? And I know that's kind of rude, but we have those thoughts occasionally, because it's a really tough position to be in. Like, being a pro is genuinely one of the harder things that you'll ever do. It's very difficult. You have a lot to manage, and pretty much everything falls on you. I mean, it's your responsibility to make your partner look good, and if they don't, that's on you. And that's a bummer, but at the end of the day, that's what we sign up for, and we love it. So it was nice to have Derek's opinion, and I'm sure the other pros really appreciated that, because it's nice to just have that perspective. Someone who's been in your position, knows how tough the job is, but is also willing to give like good constructive criticism. Okay, well, I feel like I covered most of the big changes. Now I just want to get into, I have my little notebook. I feel like a little judge. I'm like, ooh, maybe I should do that someday. But anyways, I have my notebook of just kind of like keywords that I wrote down about everybody's performances. Again, I am coming at this from a pro's perspective. So I want to be very considerate of the fact that like, this is a tough show, and night 1 is always super tough. Everybody is so nervous, including the pros, because the celebrities are so nervous because this is obviously their first time doing something new, and it can be terrifying putting yourself out there. And then the pros are just as nervous because we're the ones who are guiding our celebrities through that, and we want it to be a positive experience for them. And your first night is really how you set the tone for the rest of the season. So you want your celebrity, even if they leave with maybe not the scores they wanted, or maybe it wasn't as good as it could have been, you want them to at least feel some sense of like accomplishment and confidence, so that they can carry it into the next couple weeks, because now the competition has really started. Okay, so let's do this. So we have Okay, so we have our first couple, Cheryl and AJ. I, first of all, just want to say that Cheryl looked like a goddess. Literally, her outfit was everything in the whole entire world. I was like, oh my gosh, you look so good, girl. Anyways, I was very excited to see this pairing. I mean, naturally, I expected a lot from AJ. I'm like, okay, he's got some dance background. Yes, it's not ballroom, but having a partner who understands rhythm and can count music and has natural groove, can learn choreography, honestly, it's like one of the biggest blessings as a professional, because that's the hardest thing. Anybody can learn how to do a dance, but it's those extra things that make it that much better. So I have to be fair, I was expecting a lot from him. They danced first. Now, anytime you dance first, you're stoked because opening the show is such a huge honor. You're like, this must mean that our dance is really good. They want to open the show with a bang and you feel really good in that sense. But then on the other end, you do kind of have in your mind, at least us pros do, I never really tell my partners this because I don't want to bum them out, but whoever goes first is typically going to get a lower score than people later in the show. The scores somehow and kind of oddly just kind of escalate as the show goes on. So when you go first, you kind of are just knowing like, okay, I'm probably not going to get as high of a score as I could have if I was dancing closer to the end of the show, but it's also worth it to be that opener because they are the first people that America's seen, which is really cool too. So anyways, they come out the gate first. I'm expecting a lot and I was not disappointed. AJ seriously brought the heat. I noticed that when he jumped off the stage, he did have almost a little fumble, and I feel like that kind of threw off his confidence for maybe like 15 seconds, and I feel like his eyes were a little bit on the floor. But then as he kept going, as Cheryl got him into her grip and was like, let's do this thing, I feel like he got back into it. So I would say the biggest thing for them, they did a jive and they got 3 6s. Again, I think they would have gotten a higher score if they would have danced later in the show. Still a good score for night one, definitely. I think the biggest thing for AJ, because he is somebody that has performed before, I think people are gonna expect a lot, and maybe that's just me, I'm gonna expect a lot. So I really wanna see him open up and like perform the heck out of it, because I do feel like a little bit last night, it was a little bit reserved and maybe not as outward as it needs to be. But then again, I kind of maybe, that to me maybe could be because there was no audience and it's a little bit strange to perform for an empty room. I get that. As a performer, you want to have people that you can interact with and kind of get that feedback from. So maybe that was it. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, next up, oh, I was so excited for this couple. So next up we have Kristi and Gleb. I am obsessed with Kristi. I became hooked to Selling Sunset like 3 weeks ago and finished it literally in like 4 days. So yeah, I'm pretty obsessed with her. I was really excited to see her. I had no expectations because I'm like, she's great, she's in good shape, she's younger, she's beautiful. I figured she'd be decent, but I wasn't like, oh, she's definitely gonna be an incredible dancer. Tango is a really hard dance to do week 1. And I think that kind of got to her a little bit. I think it was very hectic. Her frame was not controlled and it kind of just looked like she was being pulled around the dance floor. That being said, she did do a very hard tango. Like Gleb did not make it easy on her. She was doing lots of footwork. She was doing hard steps. It wasn't basic by any means. So I'm gonna kind of cater the hecticness to possibly nerves, and I'm sure that it was probably a little bit more controlled in rehearsal and in dress rehearsal. That can totally happen. You add extra energy and it kind of lets everything fall apart just a tad. But their scores were ridiculous. They got 4 and a 5 and a 4. I'm like, are we serious? A 4? Like, and especially after watching the rest of the dances throughout the night, I think she definitely got hosed in her scores. I think she has a lot of work to do, but there's definitely potential there, and you can tell that she wants to do it and she's trying, so I think she's gonna be much better next week, and those scores were lame. Okay. Next up, we had Peta and Vernon. The first time I saw Vernon, well, I guess I didn't see him, but when they posted about him being on the show, I saw his smile. I'm like, this guy's gonna kill it. He reminded me actually a lot of Calvin Johnson, which is one of my partners, and I just was so excited for him because I know, first of all, Peta's incredible with athletes. She always kills it, and he just looks like he has that charisma. So they had a foxtrot night 1, which that's a very tough dance to teach a male celeb. The rise and fall and the gracefulness that you need in foxtrot, especially for a guy who is as tall and big as Vernon, that's a really tough dance to do, and he literally did so incredible. The first thing I said was, Sam was sitting here, I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy can perform. Like, he was emoting so much more than I expected. I was so impressed, because a lot of times athletes they'll kind of perform, they'll either smile or they'll do a serious face, but he wasn't just one thing. He was really feeling the emotions. It was like he was truly like telling a story, which is very, very impressive, and I thought they did such a great job. Now, there is a huge height difference for them, which I can totally relate to. Pretty much all of my partners have been taller than me. I've had one partner who was almost 2 feet taller than me. So I get it, and it is very tough. Like, it's not, I think people maybe underestimate it, like, oh yeah, maybe it just looks a little different. No, it's very, very hard, especially for the female pro to lead a partner who is taller than you, bigger than you by like twice your size. So that's always a hard thing, but I feel like they both handled it so, so well. Oh, I did want to talk, okay, so here's the thing. I was so annoyed, and I always am annoyed, when Carrie-Anne called out a lift, which was seriously like, okay, so if you know what I'm talking about, there's this draggy turn thing that you can do. So the guy is holding the girl and they spin really fast, and the girl drags their feet along the floor. Now, when your partner is almost a foot taller than you, it's a little bit harder to keep your feet on the ground the entire time. But when I say that maybe your foot lifts off the ground this much for a split second and it gets called a lift, that to me is just crazy. I'm like, okay, nobody intended to do that. I mean, I get it, but it is just, I just know, like, that's such a frustrating thing, because of course you're not going to try to do that, but sometimes it does happen, and I just think we should re-look at that rule. Like, yes, if you intentionally do a lift and you're not supposed to, cool, that, call us out, take away a point, but when it's something so unintentional and also something kind of really hard to avoid because of height difference, come on, Carrie-Anne, no! Anyways, that's my 2 cents. Okay, next up we have Keo and Anne. They do a cha-cha. I have to say, I did not know what to expect with this couple. I was very excited after her package because she looks like she has so much energy. She just is so spunky and fun, and I loved that. I just have this sense that she's like not worried about what people think about her, and she's just like, I'm gonna do this thing and be myself, and I absolutely love that personality. And I think that's the kind of personality you have to have if you're gonna do the show, because naturally people are gonna share their opinions, but you just gotta be like, I got this, I'm gonna be me, and I'm gonna go for it. Her red shorts in rehearsal were probably the best thing that has ever happened. So I was like, okay, I'm so stoked. They came out, they did their cha-cha. I was very, very impressed. I'm happy to see Keo back as a pro. So fun. I mean, he's always been on the show, but it's so fun to watch him dance with a partner and bring that energy. And I feel like they had great chemistry. They seem like they really both respect each other and they're gonna get along really well. So I was super impressed with her. I do think she's gonna go far because I think she has the audience that just wants to watch her. And I think she also surprised people on night one, and I really do think she's just gonna get better. So I was very excited about that. Okay, next up, we have Brandon and Jeannie. Oh my goodness, is she not like the cutest little thing in the whole entire world? Like, her personality, her body, everything. She's just like, she's awesome. I really, really, really like her as a person. So that was exciting because before they even danced, I'm like, yeah, I like you a lot. You're awesome. I want to keep watching you and I want to watch your journey. And then they come out, they do a awesome salsa, especially for someone who's never had dance experience. And you can tell, like, you can tell that she's not had dance experience, but at the same time, she goes for it, she performs. And Brandon did a great job choreographing to her strengths, because that's a huge thing. You have to do that. And we saw some lifts already. I mean, come on. I was very impressed. I thought they were super cute. They got 3 6s, which I think is totally fair, because like I said, you could tell that there's awkward moments, there's little bits where you're like, oh yeah, clearly not a dancer, but then it was all made up for with this awesome performance quality and just genuine fun that you could tell they were having. So I thought that was a fair score, and I do think she's gonna get a lot better throughout the season. Next up, we had Sharna and Jessie, and I actually knew that they had a quick step. I've been talking to Sharna, and having a quick step for week 1 is seriously one of the hardest dances, especially for a male celebrity. So When you're doing any dance in frame with a male celebrity, it's very, very hard because naturally in frame, when you're dancing like professional, the guy is the one who holds the frame. The girl is supposed to be the picture inside the frame. Well, when your male celebrity has done frame for a week now, you as the female pro are responsible for maintaining that frame for them, for guiding them through the routine, which is tough to do. And yeah, I just think that's a really hard dance to have week one. So I was kind of shocked that they were doing a quick step already, but it is also nice to get it out the way, get it done, and then save all the really, like, a little bit, not easier, but just the better dances for later. But I will say, I thought he did a great job considering everything. And I thought they had awesome chemistry. I thought it was super fun. I think if he continues to just like dive into every single week and have fun with it and not take anything too seriously, that they could do really well. I mean, gosh, John Tucker Must Die was like one of my favorite movies, so I was pretty stoked to see him on. But yes, I thought they did a great job. I am so happy having Sharna back. Like watching her on my screen, I'm like, yes, I love her. She's so incredible at what she does, and it just feels so right to have her back on the show. Okay, next up was Alan and Skye. Oh my goodness. She is the cutest cutie ever. Like, just this tiny little ball of cuteness, and she did so well. I have to say, like, I was super impressed. They also had a really tough week one dance, a tango, that's super tough, especially because they have such a significant height difference, which is hard when the girl is that much shorter. As a female pro, if our partner's a lot taller than us, we can kind of adjust. But when you're a female celebrity and you're not used to being led and you're not a dancer, it's hard to maintain that frame. So I was very impressed with her. I feel like she did a great job. Her and Alan have a lot of fun energy together. I think she's gonna be one to watch. And she ended up getting I think the highest score of the night, tied with somebody else. She got 777. And I think that's a great first night score. I mean, 7s are awesome. I didn't see 7s with some of my partners till like week 8 or 9, so it's a good score. Boom. Yeah, I think they're definitely a couple to watch out for sure. Okay, next up we have Artem and Caitlin. From the second they announced Caitlin being on the show, I was so stoked. I've watched her for the past couple years. I mean, I remember when she first, after her season, she was like, I want to be on the show. It didn't work out, and ever since then, I know she's expressed a lot of like desire to be on the show. So seeing her finally be called a celebrity was so exciting for me, because I do know she has dance background. She has the most fun personality literally ever. And I was just so excited and anxious to see them. And then on top of that, she's dancing with Artem, who I'm just so happy for. I mean, he's a new dad. We've been talking all the time. And I'm just so happy he's back on the show. He's so good at what he does. He's such a great partner and such a great person. So I was really, really, really excited to watch them just kill it. And I was not disappointed at all. They had a cha-cha. Her technique was already so incredible. Like, I'm sure everybody watching was like, wow, she killed it. That was great. But being a dancer and understanding cha-cha technique and how hard that is to teach and translate, I was super impressed with her. I thought she did such an incredible job. I do think that she could kick it up a notch with the performance. I think that I don't know if it's because it was so like, everything seemed very placed and perfect and pretty, but I really want her to like give it some like fire and like fierceness, and I think that will naturally come as she gets more confident and comfortable performing in the ballroom. And yeah, but I really like their dance, so I'm excited. And I loved her hair. I mean, come on, it looked so good. Okay, next up we have Jenna and Neil. Now I had to make sure that's how you say his name, because I would say Nev, but it's Neil. I asked Jenna multiple times. But they had a foxtrot. I seriously was mind blown by this guy. I mean, the amount of grace and elegance and just like poise he had for night one is pretty incredible. That is one of the hardest things to teach a celebrity, is how to show that grace. I mean, I was so impressed, and it was so fun watching my bestie Jen. I mean, I just am like so happy for her. I think that they are a great partnership. I think Nev is so sweet. I think he's genuine, fun, funny, and I think they're gonna have a lot of fun together. And then also, I know that he's gonna work hard. I've heard from Jenna that he is very into this. He is super on board with everything and anything, which is a great trait to have in a celebrity. And on top of that, he already has that natural finesse that you really can't teach somebody. So I'm very, very excited to watch them. I think Foxtrot was a great dance for him night one. And I'm really excited to see how he does with like the Latin dances. I want to see how sharp he is. I have a feeling he's gonna just bring as much grace and poise to a Latin style as he did to the ballroom, and it'll be really fun to watch. Okay, then we had Britt and Johnny. I was so excited for Britt. This is her first season as a pro, and I know how terrifying that can be. I know how exciting it can be, and I was so proud of her, so just like in awe of how well she handled everything, and I think her and Johnny are so much fun. I think this is just the beginning too of this couple. I mean, the song Loosen Up My Buttons, come on, amazing. And the kind of like ballet bar at the beginning, I was very much into it. It was amazing. I thought they looked great. I think Johnny is gonna have to work on letting loose a little bit more. I think every time we have an ice skater on the show, they're very placed and perfect and beautiful, which is awesome, especially for the ballroom dances. So I think that'll be more of his strong suit. But with that Latin, and especially being the male, you have to have that like intensity and that strength. And I think he just needs to find that, and he will naturally. But they were so much fun to watch, like so much fun. Okay. Next up we have Sasha and Justina. Oh my gosh. I mean, Sasha's one of my faves. He's like my best friend, and I tease him all the time. So naturally, I got a shout out to his little chest pop in the beginning. He was really, really giving it. I love you, Sasha. But seriously, Justina brought the fire. Like, she was the first celebrity I felt like really just like gave it everything. She was not holding back. She didn't seem nervous at all. And she performed the heck out of that cha-cha. Her entrance was literally everything. I was just dying. I mean, that is such a huge thing. A performance quality can seriously make up for anything on the dance floor. And the good thing was that she still did a great dance as well. She still danced it very well. Her technique was pretty dang good for being a first-time cha-cha dancer. I think we have a lot coming from this couple, and I know they're gonna have a lot of fun together because Sasha's always super fun, and she seems like she has the best personality. Yeah, I really enjoyed them. Next up, we had Emma and Charles. First of all, I just wanna give a shout out to my bestie, Emma. She is one of my favorite pros. Like, I remember, and I mean, every season I've been on the show, I always watch her with the partners, and I'm just always so impressed. She is such a genuine, kind, and like caring person, and it always translates to her partnerships. And the second I saw Charles, my heart just kind of went, oh, it was so sweet. He's just so gentle and endearing, and I feel like he was a total gentleman. And going into, I mean, before they danced, I was like, okay, this is gonna be like maybe some of the older, like similar to some of the older people that we've had on the show. But I have to say, I was so impressed with him. His dancing wasn't great. He didn't hit all the movements. He rushed a little bit. I get it, that happens. It happens pretty much with anybody all the time. So I get that. But what I loved the most was his genuine, like, excitement and effort that he was giving to the routine. He wasn't just there, just smiling, doing the steps, like with a blank stare on his face. He was genuinely performing and getting into it, having fun. You could tell that he wanted to be there, and I love that. I feel like a lot of times when we have older dancers or older celebrities on the show, they either look scared out of their mind or they look bored. Those are the kind of two different expressions that we get. They might do all the steps, but those are kind of the facial expressions. Whereas I feel like he was actively engaged. He wanted to kill it. He was like giving it everything he could, and that to me is the best. And then when Emma screamed loudly at their fours, I was like, I love you, Emma. She's just the best. And I love her because I totally get it. When your partner is somebody who you know isn't gonna get high scores, you're literally happy with anything. You're just happy that they completed the dance and everything went okay. So I love that. I totally relate to you, Ems, and I'm just like, I really genuinely enjoyed watching them dance together. Okay, next up we have Monica and Val. I was obsessed with the show Cheer. I watched that on tour very fast. And when I found out Monica was gonna be on, I was so stoked. And then when I found out she was gonna be with Val, I was like, this is literally the most perfect pairing, because These two are probably some of the most driven people I know. They're both tough coaches, and I knew that the pairing together would just be unstoppable, and they did such a great job. They had a foxtrot. Monica was super graceful, beautiful. She has some great flexibility as well. Like, when she did her big rond de jambe kick, I was very impressed. I'm like, okay, this girl's got some serious moves. I cannot wait to see her do a cha-cha or a salsa, because I feel like she's gonna bring that fire and passion, and I know she's gonna do well because she knows what it takes to be a winner. So, like I said, I know she's gonna do great because I think she has that winner mentality. She knows what it's like to make it through grueling practices, put in the time, put in the energy, and I know that Val's gonna bring it out of her. So I'm very excited to see where those two go. Okay, we're on to our last two couples. We had Daniella and Nelly. I am, again, just like so freaking excited for Daniella to have her first season as a pro. She is one of the most talented ballroom dancers literally out there, and I am just so happy for her. I think she did an incredible job on her first show. And I have to say, I was extremely anxious to watch Nelly. I was like, okay, this could go one of two ways. He could be really, really awesome and just like go for it, have the rhythm, be super into it, or he could maybe be a little bit timid and try to like just play it cool. And I feel like he really went for it. I was super impressed. I feel like, first of all, the opening shot of them on the motorcycle, I mean, so freaking hot. Daniella is literally the hottest girl in the world. And then her and Nelly just looked so great together. I loved oh, I'm sorry. Burp, jeez. I loved everything about their salsa. I thought the choreography was super fun. I will say, Nelly, you gotta ditch the shoes for next time. I mean, we've gotta see you in those ballroom shoes. That was the only thing I was like, I feel like his footwork is good, but it looks clunky because he's wearing these ginormous tennis shoes. So hopefully he will just go for the Cuban heel next time. But I was very impressed with them. Daniella, you killed it on your first show. They got 5, 5, 6. So I kind of agree with the scores, I kind of don't. Performance-wise, I think the scores should have been higher, but dancing-wise, I do think 5s were kind of reasonable. I mean, he got into the rhythm of it and was feeling the vibe, but the technique wasn't quite there yet. Knowing Daniella, she's such a great teacher, and he will be better week after week, so I'm excited. Okay, save the best for last, and they did. Oh my goodness. So I think everybody was anxiously awaiting Carol Baskin and to see what she was gonna do, how it was gonna go. And the fact that Pasha is her partner, he is literally the sweetest guy in the whole entire world and does not have a mean bone in his body. And I know that he was so patient and so caring, and I love him for that. I was just so entertained. Entertainment is really the word that I can use to describe their performance. The dancing, I mean, to be fair, she did the steps. She did everything that Pasha asked her to do. It was definitely not done like super well, but she performed and she was giving it her all. I'm still just like, I'm not quite sure how I feel. I'm kind of just speechless, but it was super entertaining. They got a 4, a 4, and a 3. So that was the low score of the night. It's tough. I mean, the dancing wasn't great, but I will say she put in effort and she genuinely looked like she wanted to be there and try. And for me, that always gets extra brownie points. So I don't know, I kind of agree with the scores based on just dancing, but as far as like the whole package and the effort that I saw that was put into it, I probably would have given a higher score. But yeah, she was very entertaining and I can't wait to see what outfit she wears next week. Oh my goodness. Well, you guys, here's my kind of synopsis. So I think there were so many strong dancers for week 1. I mean, that might be the strongest week 1 we've seen in a while, where there's just so many dancers that are pretty natural and excited to be there, which is great. It sets you up for an awesome season full of a lot of talent and some good dancing, but at the same time, that does make it harder because you don't want to just stay the same. And that's going to be the test for these couples, that they get better. So starting strong is always awesome, but you have to continue to grow from there. So I'm really anxious to see which couples step up and kind of bring that new bit every single week, and I feel like some couples might fall flat, but it'll be interesting to see who does so well. I think my fave so far, oh my gosh, my fave performances of the night were Justina and Sasha, because she literally just like destroyed it with the personality and just like so much energy brought into that performance. It was so fun to watch. I loved Jeannie and Brandon. I think she is such a sweetie, and I'm super excited to see where she goes. And Jenna and Neil. I feel like he's gonna be a big contender this season. So yeah, those are kind of my, those were my standouts from last night. But then again, everybody was really good, so it's kind of hard. So I can't wait for next week. Thanks for watching my little recap. Again, I still can't believe that this is the first time in 8 years that I'm not a part of the show, but I'm so freaking grateful that I get to be home and I can watch and still support, and then pretty soon I'll have baby girls sitting with me watching, and I'm very excited for that. So stay tuned for next time. Let's do this thing. Like I said, I'm gonna try to get some of my friends to maybe FaceTime in, maybe I can chat with some of the celebs, so we'll see. Leave in the comments below who you would want me to talk to, what kind of questions you would want me to answer, or if there's anything that I didn't really cover that you'd love to hear my opinion on. So yay, see you next week.